welcome. Today I am training you a session on filling in an incident form in a childcare setting. So before we start, I will just run you through.
She's biting her lips. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Where's my puppet?
Alright, so before we start, I just have to run you through, if there is an emergency at all, we just have to follow the fire warden's instructions. So you'll hear an alarm, and then they will direct us on what to do, what doors to go out, all that kind of thing. So today we are just going to run through a PowerPoint first, and then I have a sample incident form that I've already filled out, which we'll go through. And then there's also 2 empty incident forms here that we'll fill out after the PowerPoint. Alrighty, so that is just the title. This is a slow laptop paper. Keeps reading. Alright. So, session outcome. By the end of this session, you guys will be able to identify all sections on the incident form. So there's quite a few different sections that we have to fill out. And they all have to be filled out. So if for some reason there's a section that we don't have any information for, we just do like not applicable or cross the line through it. But yeah, all the sections will be filled out. We have to record with factual, clear and accurate information. And we have to follow centre policy and Alright, when to complete an incident form. So any injury or accident that occurs in your care, any illnesses or sudden symptoms, so if the child becomes unwell, while at childcare we fill one of these out as well. Behaviour incidents, so the most common one would be biting or pushing. So we have to fill out an incident form for the child that gets bitten as well as an incident form for the child that does bite. Or hazards or near misses. So key sections of the form. So every form you fill out will have the child's details, the date, the time and the location of the incident, what happened in as much detail as possible, and we make sure we only use real information, so we don't make up any stories or scenarios. That all has to be real information. Actions taken, as in first aid provided, witness information, educator and parent signatures, and nominated supervisor signature. We have how to write the incident description. So again, stick to factual information only. Use purposeful language, words that clearly explain what you are describing. Don't blame others, such as other educators. Avoid assuming, instead explain exactly what happened. If for some reason an incident happens and no one witnesses it, that's when we can write, for instance, like incident or so-and-so child hurt themselves, came up to an educator and made them aware, but no educator witnessed this incident, but we still have to write an incident for them. Include a sequence of events and include all contributing factors. So that's that one. Do you guys have any questions at all so far?
No, other than that noise, but yeah. No, all good.
All good?
Yeah.
Alright, wonderful.
Yeah.
Alright, next slide. So, an example of correct wording. So, as Georgia was walking down the step at the sandpit, she tripped and fell onto the pavement. This caused a small graze the size of a 50-cent piece on her left knee.
Poor Georgia.
I know. So when we are writing what happened, so for instance in this case, we have to sort of describe the size in the most common way that everyone's aware. So a really good way of doing that is by using money, because obviously majority of people know the sizing of money. So that's a very popular way that educators will describe. And then actions taken, so first aid, if first aid is needed. Comforting the child, so we want to make sure that the child is cared for and settled, especially even before like filling out an incident form, or you can grab an incident form and have the child sitting on your lap while filling it out. But first thing first is to make sure that the child is comforted. Removing any hazards, so if the child tripped on something, removing that out the way so it doesn't happen again. And reporting to room leader and management. So once an incident occurs, we want to let the room leader know of the room, and we also, when ratio allows you to, you head out to management and get them to sign the form as well as make them aware of what has happened.
Doing a great job, Dol.
Thanks, Dol.
Good job.
Documentation requirements. So complete the form as soon as possible. So when the incident occurs, first things first is obviously making sure you can duck out of the room to grab an incident form. Most of the time they are in the room, but for some reason you might have to. Always making sure ratio is fine for you to do so, but we want to try and fill the form out as soon as we can so that we don't forget any information or that kind of thing. Notify a caregiver straight away. So anything above the shoulders, so any head bumps, any grazes on the face, anything above the shoulder of the child, we need to call the parent or the caregiver to make them aware. If they like fall over and graze their knee, you don't have to, but if a child is bitten, it doesn't matter what part of the body, we also have to call the caregiver to let them know what's happened, as well as calling the biter's caregiver as well to make them aware. We also, once all the incident form is filled out correctly and signed by everybody who needs to sign it, we store these at the front desk in incident form file, making sure that everything is properly signed, the nominated supervisor or the responsible person has had a good look over, and the parents have signed the form as well. That gets stored at the front. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the practice activity. So first things first, we will have a look through this one that I've filled out. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to ask. And then once we've gone through this one, you, Natalia and Darcy, will both have one to fill out. And no worries. Okay, and then I will obviously observe while you're filling it out. If you have any questions, if you have any, I'll also give you out some feedback. And when the incident forms are accurately completed, this protects child safety and legal requirements. So incident forms are actually a legal requirement in the childcare industry. They get on file for 25 years, so anything down the track, there has been cases before where 10 years later a child has a scar from something that happened and parents call the centre wanting to know exactly what happened 10 years ago. So they keep these forms on file for 25 years. And it is important to always write clearly, have truthful information and follow correct steps and act promptly. So that is the presentation today. Do you have any questions at all?
No.
No? Wonderful. Okay, so I have filled out this form. So today's child is named John Smith. So at our centre at Siri, we have the iPads in the room which are used to gather all the child's information. So normally when an incident occurs, we grab one of these forms and we grab an iPad to grab their birth date, their full name, and parents' name, parents' phone number, etc. So I've just got here, John Smith was born on the 1st of January 2021. Age is 4 years and 10 months. So when we're writing the age on an incident form, we like to write the years and the months, just whether they're male, female, or other. The next section is details of person completing this record. So that would be me, so Georgia Jones, your role, so assistant educator. If you're a lead educator, you'd write lead educator. you would write agency. The date the record was completed, so the day that you are filling out this form. So majority of the time it will be the day that the incident occurred. So such as today, the 21st of the 11th, 25, the time, so you want to write the exact time by the minute. So 2:05, if it happened at 2:07, you'd write 2:07. Next section is incident, injury, trauma or illness details. So we have the incident date, which is today, the 21st of the 11th, and the time the incident happened, so 2 o'clock. The person who witnessed the incident. So,
do you have to ask permission to write their name on?
You don't have to ask for permission, but when you're asking for their name or when you're writing their name on the incident form, you just let them know that you're putting them as a witness. So that if any questions are asked down the track, they're aware that their name's on the incident report. So for this case, it was Rebecca Smith witnessed it. So it's just whoever the other educator is in the vicinity of when the incident occurred. Sometimes there's not a witness. If that's the case, you just write no witness. Majority of the time there will be. So Rebecca Smith, and then how many educators? So there was just myself and Rebecca, and how many children were in the area. So you don't have to write how many children were in the hall. So say it was outside and you were down in this corner, there were 4 children there. So that's what you have to write, 4 children and the 2 educators that witnessed it. If you were in the room, say the door was shut and you had a full room and the incident happened over in that corner there, you'd write however many kids were inside the room and the other educator or educators that witnessed it. Location, try and be as precise as you can be. So for this one, it was the kinder yard near the sandpit. So if it happened in the room over near the cots, you'd write in the nursery room near the cots, for instance. And then we've got the injury or trauma, so the cause of injury or trauma. So this is where we want to give the most details we can. So I've written here, John was walking down the stairs near the sandpit. John fell down, so we're talking about like where we're near. And then John fell down the bottom step and grazed his shoulder on the ground. This left a small graze on his right shoulder, the size of a 20-cent piece. So that's our describing phrase there, using the money again, as most people know the sizing of money, so it's easiest to communicate to their parent or caregiver. So that is the details of what occurred. Then we've got circumstances surrounding any illness. So for this case, it was an injury. So this would be where you would write if the child was sick. So I've just written not applicable. Missing child, again, not applicable. And then circumstances if child appeared to have been taken or removed from the service. Not applicable. I have never filled out a form with that before.
Thank God.
Thank goodness. So next page, this is where we indicate on the diagram the part of the body that's affected. And we've also got a list of different injuries it could be, with a section down the bottom here with other. So if for some reason something's happened and it's not on this list, we tick other and we just write, for instance, like a red mark. There's no red mark section, so that's where we would write that. We've got a diagram of the front of the body or the back of the body. We only have to do one or the other, obviously, unless there's a number of different injuries, sorry. So here I've just circled the right shoulder. We want to make sure that it is the right side of the body on the diagram. So that is that bit. Do you have any questions at all so far? No?
No.
Wonderful. Actions taken, so this is where we write any details of first aid, administration of medication. So if the child has a really high temp, this is where we would call the parent to get verbal, verbal permission over the phone to give the child Panadol. For this case, that's not what we're doing, but I will mention as well with that, we have to have another educator get approved as well for the Panadol over the phone. So 2 educators have to be approved if we are giving a child Panadol. So here I have written comfort given. So we've comforted the child. First aid administered is wound cleaned. So here I would put gloves on, get a wet washer or wet paper towel, give the wound a clean, and then a band-aid was applied to stop the bleeding. Did emergency services attend? No, so I've circled no. Was medical attention sought from a doctor, hospital? No, so I've circled that again. What steps have been taken to prevent or minimise this type of incident in the future? So it has a please note here. So for any incident, trauma or injury, trauma or incident, this has to be completed. So I've just wrote in, I spoke to John about going slow down the stairs instead of running to prevent this from happening again. Notifications made. So we need to notify the parent as soon as we can. For this instant, John, I think, hurt himself at 2 o'clock, sorry. I started filling this form out at 2:05. John's settled, he's fine now, he's back out playing. I've given mum a call at 2:08. So I've written that down, mum's name and the date. So all these details again at our centre are found on the iPad, as well as mum's phone number. We also have to let the responsible person or the director know, whoever's here, as well about the incident before we get this form signed by the parent when they pick the child up. So for this case, I let Sandra know, the director at the front, at 2:30 on today's date, the 21st of the 11th. And then down the bottom here is just getting the parent to sign the form when they collect the child. And you just circle if it's incident, injury, trauma or illness, the date and the signature. And then the back page is, again, just where the director signs, name, sign and date. And that is how you fill out an incident form. Thank you.
Nice.
No problem. You both have your pens. So for this, I'll make up a little scenario. So we can say Jenny Jones. Jenny Jones. So date of birth can be the 2nd of the 8th, 2023. So now we're going to figure out the age.
So then 2 years, 3 months.
Perfect. 2 years, 3 months. Good job on remembering the years and the months.
Thank you. Yep, thank you very much.
So Jenny is a girl, so we circle female. Details of person completing this record, so just your details.
Are we students? Can you write student?
You just write, no, I put you down as
Cool.
Working towards Cert 3, so you just write assistant educator. And then the date the incident occurred. And 4 PM. Yeah. Okay, so injury incident date, so we can just do today. Again, important to try and do the incident form as quickly as you can. This also minimises miscommunication with staff as well. So if you're finishing early before the child gets picked up, at least the staff have the form ready to go. So that's the date and then the time the incident occurred. So just obviously making sure the time is before you fill the time you fill out the form, you know what I mean? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Name of person who witnessed the incident, so you can just put each other's name there if you like. Perfect. So we can say there were 2 educators, and we'll just say 4 children again. All right, so the location will say nursery yard near the slide. we can say Jenny was getting ready to go down the slide. Then we'll say when another child, so that's another thing as well, when we're filling out incident forms and another child is a part of the incident or caused the incident to happen or was biting a child, we always write another child in the incident form, so we never list their name for confidentiality purposes. So that's another important thing to remember. So what did we write? Sorry, Jenny was getting ready to go down the slide when another child pushed her.
Do we need to write an incident report for the child that pushed her?
Yes, we would, yeah. So if another child provokes the incident to happen, we then write an incident form. And for biting, and if the other child's caused any other head injuries to another child, we would call their parent as well and make them aware. Another child pushed her, causing her to fall and bump her head.
Where'd she bump her head?
So then we'll write, this caused a small, great question though, Nat, we have to be very, very specific. So this caused a small bruise the size of a 10-cent piece on the left of her forehead. So again, we can skip these next three ones. That's just about illness, missing child, and whether the child's been...
What do we write in there? Just NA?
NA. NA is fine, applicable. So then we've got the diagram. So we're going to look at the front on diagram and look at and find the left side of her forehead. So there. Yeah, and I always have to like try and figure it out. Yeah. And because we listed that it was a bruise, we'll just tick bruise. That's that section. Details of action taken. So head injuries, we get a wet washer. So we'd write applied wet washer onto the bruise. And we also, with a head injury, want to observe the child for at least 45 minutes after the incident happened. So that doesn't mean they have to sit with you the whole time. They can, once they're settled, get back up and go and play. But we just want to make sure that we're observing that child. Right on here, wound clean, oh no, that's the other one. Applied wet washer and observation for 45 minutes. Observation of child, sorry, for 45 minutes.
Was Jenny confident?
Jenny was also comforted. Great. Good job for remembering that. Parents just like to see that on there. Mainly the reason for putting that on there, but yeah, we always write that on there. Okay, so did emergency service attend? No. Did we have to go to the doctors or the hospital? No. So what steps have been taken to prevent or minimise this type of incident in future? So here I would write more supervision at the slide. So we've just got here notifications made. So with head injuries, it's really, really important to call the parent as soon as possible. So we have contacted Jenny's mum, we used Amanda before, Michelle Jones. It's actually my name.
Thanks, Mish.
Thanks, Mish. What time did you say the incident occurred?
6:20.
6:20, so we called Michelle at 6:22 p.m.
Do you have to call them before you do the incident report?
With a head injury, most of the time, yes. Yeah, we would, but some of the time the parents are at work, so they're not going to answer straight away. So then we would leave a message asking them to call us back. If that's the case, and when we attempted to call them, and then the time that they called back, and when we spoke to them. But yes, you would comfort the child first, then you would call the caregiver, and then you'd start filling out the incident form. Yep. So time and date there, and then letting the director or the responsible person know. So Sandra, again, we'd like to let them know as soon as possible as well. And then we get the director to sign the back here, and we've also got down the bottom here, parent signature. So that's when the child gets, no, I don't have to worry about that. That's just when the child gets picked up. Another thing as well, when we have incident forms, it's really important to try and get the parent to sign them that day. Not a majority of the time, but a lot of the time they get not communicated. When educators leave and other educators take over, they do get left. But it's just really important to try and get it signed as quick as you can. Wonderful, and that is how you fill out an incident form. Great. So I'm just going to check your forms against mine, even though I watched you do it, so I think it's all done well. Wonderful. Wonderful. Signatures at the back. Beautiful. And then obviously when they're signed by everyone that needs to sign it, they get filed out the front. And that is today's session. Let me just
Thanks so much, Miss.
Also just wanted to go through, I'll bring it up here. What did I have on here? Sorry. Confidentiality is another thing that we haven't covered. So obviously these are legal documents in childcare and very important to make sure you're filling out correctly. With all this information, it must be kept confidential with other educators in the centre who aren't involved, as well as other parents and caregivers of the service. In our centre we have clipboards specifically for incident forms that need to be signed or filed, and they go on the clipboard with a piece of paper over the top to make sure that other parents that are coming into the room don't see the information that's written on here. This is an important one as well for biting children, because children who are getting bitten in rooms, their parents can get quite frustrated with it. So we want to make sure that any incident forms, well, all incident forms, but specifically those incident forms are hidden and private. And there was something else I was going to talk about with confidentiality. I suppose just like if you're filling out a form and you run out of time to fill it out, just making sure that it's not just left on the bench anywhere in the room, that we're putting them on the clipboards and covering them and coming back to them as soon as we can. And I think that is
So this is a question, can another educator give the filled out incident report if they weren't a witness or didn't write it?
Absolutely. So if children are left here right till the end of the day, and you go home at 5:30 and the child's not getting picked up till 6:30, we run the educator who's going to be with the child when they get picked up, run them briefly through the incident form so that they're aware of what has happened. All the time, where the parents will get a phone call and be made aware, apart from if it's like a graze or something. But if it's something more serious, the parents will be called and they will get a bit of a heads up to let them know that there is an incident form here this afternoon to be signed. So most of the time the parents will come in to pick their child up and say, oh, I've got an incident form to sign. But yes, though you can, what's the word I'm trying to think? You can explain the incident form to an educator if you're leaving for the day and the form still needs to be signed. That's not a problem. I just have a question for you guys from the session today. If you could name like one important, what was the question? Sorry, I was learning to name one important thing to remember when completing an incident form that you've learned today.
To call the parents as soon as possible to let them know what's happened.
Wonderful, very, very important.
Mine would be using factual information all the time.
Yeah, perfect.
Making sure you include as much detail as possible.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, and at our centre, all that information, like I said, can be found on the iPad. So if you click on the child's name, all the information is there. And yeah, just making sure that if for some reason you've forgotten something from the incident, don't just like make it up. Just write what you do remember, as truthful as possible. But yeah, wonderful. Two very important things to remember. So thank you so much for coming today, and I will email you some feedback forms if you get it when you get a chance. Sorry, would you be able to fill that out for me? Just some feedback on how I went today and things I can improve on and how the session went. That would be wonderful.
Thank you so much.